Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to Chomp at the Bit. Hopefully you're having a great day and had a great weekend, enjoyed yourself, watched a lot of sports because I know I did. I have some videos coming up where I will talk about a couple of the games that I did watch, and that's something I'm going to try to do weekly with Patriots and Falcons, of course, but also want to do with the Celtics. And with that, I did catch the preseason game on Sunday. So I guess quick little note, if you didn't know that the preseason kind of have gotten underway, they did. So like I said, Celtics first game was Sunday. I was actually watching it, I think, on my iPad as I was watching the Falcons game. So multitasking there. But what I can say is that the Celtics look like they are in midseason form already. Now, if you didn't catch the game, I'll give you all the little nuggets that you need to know. So basically, they destroyed the Hornets 134-93. I'm not misspeaking. Yes, the Celtics won that game by 41 points. Kind of hard to do in the preseason. You don't see a lot of blowouts like that unless it's an NBA team against a non NBA team sometimes. But even then, those games are usually closer than this. But for the Celtics to score 134 points, obviously, that means they had to be, I guess, had to put up pretty good shooting numbers, which they absolutely did. So they went 57% from the field. They were 48 of 84, and they shot 47% from three. Once again, they're not going to do that every night. If they did, it'd probably be the most efficient NBA team of all time, and they'd probably score the most points, maybe, of an NBA team of all time over the course of a season. But this game did show certain nights, when they put it all together, and even with them winning by 41, there were still a couple of things that they definitely could work on in this game. But, they did show offensively they are capable of putting up numbers like this. And I think as long as they, stick with ball movement, player movement on offense, and limit those times where, Tatum and Brown try to do it all on their own, I think this team could be a really efficient offense. They've addressed some issues from last season. They have a couple of guys who maybe weren't as prominent last season, who, if they are able to make their way into the regular rotation for the regular season, could fix some other issues they had last season. But I mean, one thing I did love about this game was, the Celtics had 41 assists on 48 field goals. That's a great percentage. That shows you there were times where guys maybe could have uh, taken a tough shot, but they removed the ball to get a guy with maybe a more open look at the rim. And of course, for that to work, you have to hit shots. As I previously said, 57% from the field is incredible. And then another thing that was key about this game was the Celtics won the rebounding battle 56-43 over the Hornets. And we saw there were some times last season where, certain teams would go up against the Celtics and win the rebounding battle, which then would put a lot of pressure, I guess, on them offensively to be really efficient, or if they, beat them on the offensive boards, it really put the defense in scramble mode. So if the Celtics can control the glass, which is going to be interesting to see how they do that with Robert Williams being out for the first, I think it's 8 to 12. Well, I guess 8 to 12 weeks from the surgery, so he'll be back probably around mid-December. So in that time, it's going to take, you know, Tatum on the boards, Brown on the boards. Marcus Smart, we know, is a guy who plays point, but he can rebound. Grant Williams, when he's in the game, get on the boards. Brogdon, guys like that. It's gonna require multiple people to pick up the slack from Rob Williams because we know Rob Williams lives around the rim, and maybe a couple of guys that they brought in, like Vonleh, Cabin Gale, you know, one of those guys, maybe they fill in and help out on the boards at certain stints in the game. The newly signed Blake Griffin, I'm sure he'll factor into the rebounding numbers. But I think it's gonna be a key stat for the Celtics because when the Celtics get the ball, off the glass rebounding, that means they can push the ball on offense, and they have plenty of guys who can operate in transition, both as ball handlers and finishers. And with some of the guys on the team like Hauser, guys like that, on the break they could run up and get a trail three, or by swinging the ball on the break, get him a look in the corner. Grant Williams as well. So, like I said, there's a lot of good in this game that I saw that if they can carry that over into the regular season, I've already said they're going to be a top six team. And we know that the top six in the East did improve, I would say. But, keep some of these habits that we saw in this game. Now, of course, over 82 game season, they're not going to play grade A basketball every night. That's just something that's going to happen. Some nights they're just going to be off. Now, we did see the depth of the team, so maybe that comes into factor on those nights where Brown and Tatum may be struggling. But like I said, not going to expect these kind of numbers every night when the Celtics take the floor. That's asking way too much. But we know with the Celtics offensively, everybody's going to be looking at Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. So Brown, he had 24 points, 5 rebounds. I think he was like 8 of 11 from the field, very efficient. And if you've been keeping up with um, Jaylen Brown over the summer, you've seen he's been putting in a lot of work on his body with all those like uh, exercises he was doing like in the pool and all that. He's talked about making a name for himself. You know, I think he is planning on having a really big season this year, and I'm fully for that. Because I will say, Jaylen Brown, since he's been drafted, each year he's come back, and you can pinpoint something in his game that he's improved upon. So maybe that's ball handling, which that's kind of been a thing with him over the past couple of years, and he has improved each year, I would say. Maybe he's just strengthening his body to make it through a full season because we've seen the last couple of years he's had little nagging injuries throughout the year where he's missed little pockets of games. So of course, if he's available more often, that's less pressure on Tatum and other guys. And maybe they'll be set up to make a repeat run at the finals because Brown's health will be a major part of that. Tatum, 16 points, 6 rebounds. Tatum struggled a little bit from the field, but all in all, that's not that big of a deal. I mean, between the two guys, the Celtics would like to see them mid 20-point range. Brown, if he gives you 24 points a night, you're golden. Tatum, you'd like to see more than 16, but there'll be some nights where Tatum gets you 16, and it will be enough if some other guys I'm about to mention, if they're constant contributors on this team. So, looking at some of the guys who came off the bench, and I will say one real quick. I know when I did my episode before, and I talked about with Robert Williams out, who would Joe Mazzulla put into the starting lineup, in his place? Would they go like Grant Williams at the 4, move Horford to the 5, lineup like that? Actually, Mazzulla put Derek White into the starting lineup, so they went with Smart, Derek White, Brown, Tatum, Horford. And that might be the lineup you see opening night. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But I don't know. I don't think it's a lineup they would use a lot because I think they probably want to limit Horford's minutes at the 5. He's getting up there in age. He's not gonna, you know, probably like want to bang around the rim night in and night out, especially when you're going up against guys like Joel Embiid or to think about, Joel Embiid might be the like real center that poses that much of a problem for Horford. Although Horford plays Embiid as well as as well as a lot of guys. Like let me rephrase that. Horford plays Embiid probably as well as anybody does in the league, only because Horford can push him at least a little bit further from the rim, and Horford's body type is that Embiid can't just bully him under the rim. Doesn't mean he stops Embiid, of course, but he gives Embiid all he can handle. So just want to say that real quick. But like I said, looking at the guys off the bench, Grant Williams, 8, 4, and 4, and Grant Williams did show me some stuff in this game that I haven't seen from him. Probably he drove to the hoop several times with his left. He finished at the rim over two guys with his left. Um, he hit threes. I think he went 2 for 3 from 3-point line. He looked very comfortable taking all three of the shots, and that was something that I think come the playoffs. I think that part of his 3-point shot was the aspect that probably I would say left him more prominently, and that's why he didn't shoot as well as the playoffs went along, at least not on a consistent basis. So if that's something that he can do, that just makes him more valuable. Hauser was refreshing to see off the bench because we know the last season a lot of talk about the Celtics needing shooting, and Hauser's a guy who is a you know 3-point specialist. Although I mean, seen him at times make dribble drives to the hoop, but he's mainly gonna factor into this team as a 3-point shooter. And with Gallinari being down, and Gallinari is a guy who can knock down a three, that probably gives Hauser an avenue to get minutes on this team. Once again, especially on those nights where they may be struggling to score, you put Hauser out there for a nice little stretch, see what he's got going. If he's on a heater, you let him run with it. If he's a little cold, at least you can throw him out there and feel confident in his shot. Whether they go down or not, that's going to be up to him. But he getting 14 points, 4 for 5 from three, gave you everything you needed to see. So definitely loved his performance. And probably the guy I was most interested in seeing how they were going to play, Malcolm Brogdon. He gave you 11 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. Now, obviously, he'll probably score more than 11 points game during the season, but the 9 assists was a key factor because that was the reason why the Celtics went and got him, and that's why a lot of the fans wanted to see him on the Celtics was his playmaking ability, and we saw it from the minute he stepped on the floor. And he also, with the bench unit, he played with great pace. Once they got the rebound, they kicked it to him. He pushed the pace a little bit, and from that, we saw some assists where he may draw the attention of a couple of guys, kick it into the corner. He did that a couple of times for like Grant Williams, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. Even there's a couple off of the inbounds where they inbounded it to him. A couple of guys took a step towards him, kicked it to the corner to Hauser, who made a couple of threes off of that. We saw him dribble drive and kick out to Grant Williams, I think to Hauser as well. We saw him at times where there was a clear cut to the lane, dribble drive, get by his man, lay up at the rim. So he did it all there. He knocked down a couple of threes. Um, so yeah, he came as advertised to me, and I think he's saying all the right things as well. He has said that he has come into this team expecting to like lead the bench unit. Now that doesn't mean he's not going to be in the final minutes of the game. Expect to see Brogdon on the floor. You'll probably see like Smart, Brogdon, Brown, Tatum, and then insert whoever at the five. Could be Horford, could be Blake Griffin, could be Cal McGelly, who and I would say during this game looked really good around the rim. So a lot of encouraging things I saw. Of course, it was just the first preseason game, so I'm not going to go completely overboard with it. But I did see aspects of this where a lot of the things we saw during their good run last season, where Udoka kind of turned it around after the All Star break. Missoula's kind of carried on with that. Um, Maybe the pace thing was probably the biggest surprise. First game of the preseason, I was shocked to see the energy and the intensity that the Celtics came out with. And I give the Hornets credit. They did that for like the first 5 or 6 minutes the Hornets did, but the Celtics carried that throughout the game. And clearly the Hornets weren't ready for that. Speaking of the Hornets, just to talk about them real quick, um, I guess the major players on their team, LaMelo Ball had 14 points, but on 5 of 19 shooting. So definitely that's a win for the Celtics there. Rozier had 11 points on 4 of 13 shooting. Win there. PJ Washington, who I think without Michael, wait, which Bridges is it? The one who got in trouble. I honestly I can't remember his first name. Yeah, I completely blanked on it. But Bridges. With him not there, PJ Washington is going to have to step up. He didn't do that in this game. He only had 4 points, 1 of 7 from the field. I think the one basket might have been a dunk off the break. Other than that, don't really remember him being on the court. And the Hornets can't have that happen if they're going to do anything of substance this season. Gordon Hayward didn't play. I feel like since he's left the Celtics, he hasn't played a game against them. But this is the preseason, and with Hayward's you know health issues and all that, he shouldn't be playing in the first preseason game. Take your time with him. Then the regular season, you can kind of put him out there. But looking at the Hornets, they look like the same team that they were when Lamelo Ball got there. This is now what, year 3 of Lamelo, and when he got there, his rookie season, people were saying, "Watch out, the Hornets are coming." Didn't happen. The second season, it was, "Watch out, the Hornets are about to make a move up this, up the Eastern Conference standings." Didn't do that. And now it's already by the third year, and it seems like people have forgotten about them. If you watch this game, you'll probably see why. There was a lot of questionable shot selection. I feel like that's always been an issue with the Hornets. The intensity and the effort that the Celtics showed, and mind you, Celtics are the team that were in the finals last season. If the Celtics wanted to take it easy through the preseason, I would have been fine with it because I'd understand. They just came off of a long season, eased their way into it. They didn't. And like I said, the Hornets matched it for a couple of minutes, and then they looked like they were just outclassed on the floor. And I think the Hornets are in a situation where the Hornets should be running teams off the floor in preseason. They're young. That's probably their most efficient way to play offensively because in the half court, it can be rough to watch the Hornets play. I didn't put, I think Oubre had like 11 points as well. And he's another guy who can play undisciplined at times, like, you know, Ball can and Rozier can. So them missing Hayward in this game, it definitely showed. And it's something that's going to show during the regular season if Hayward does miss games. Because I think Hayward is somewhat of he's probably the veteran presence on the team. But what works against him is he's out so much that it kind of diminishes his impact, I would say. If they can get Hayward through a full season, then maybe there's some hope for the Hornets to be maybe a top play-in team, like the 7-8 seed. But looking at it right now, I don't see, a lot of reason to be optimistic with this team because the top 6, they're not cracking that. If any of you are Hornets fans, just gotta break that to you bluntly. They're not cracking the top 6 because the top 6, you got Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, Heat, they got Cavs, and then with the Nets, that's 6. After that, you're looking at Um, the Bulls, oh, the Bulls have some, injury questions right now, but the Bulls, the Raptors, the Hawks will be in that group. So that's already three teams there, and there's only four in the play-in. So you're now putting the Hornets up against the Pistons, the Wizards, maybe the Pacers. I mean, just looking at that right there, I don't think the Hornets are necessarily better than any of those teams. So for a team that showed so much promise when they were kind of formed once LaMelo Ball got there, and remember all the excitement through the first half of like LaMelo's rookie season, they have become really stagnant. Everybody else has basically jumped them. And I think the Hornets need to hit the reset button, move some of these guys out, whether that's, I don't know, PJ Washington, Terry Rozier. They definitely need probably an upgrade down low because Plumlee ain't it. And the fact that he is switching hands with his free throws now, because he used to be right handed, now he's shooting them left handed, basically just a push shot with his left hand. Um, if you're a WNBA fan, think Alyssa Thomas. She kind of does that, although she's had like several surgeries on her shoulder, so it kind of makes sense. But Plumlee, that's his new form now, left-handed, and the free throws didn't look any better. Which I guess, quick side note, I think it's wild that a player can go through, playing high school, college, make the NBA, play for a few years, and then suddenly decide, you know what? Maybe I'm shooting with the wrong hand at the free throw line. Isn't that something that should have been figured out a while ago? I know on the broadcast, I saw the Celtics broadcast, uh, Brian Scalabrine asked, has that happened before? And as soon as he said it, I knew Tristan Thompson did the same thing. I think when Tristan Thompson came into the league, he shot lefty at the free throw line. But if you watch Tristan Thompson now, he shoots right handed. And for Tristan Thompson's struggles, he looks like Reggie Miller at the free throw line compared to Plumlee. So those are some things that the Hornets got to figure out. They have Steve Clifford, who's back for his second stint as the coach. I think Clifford is a good coach. Now, Jordan and Kupchak in the front office, they're going to have to do something to this roster to get him legit players there. I think they have kind of a redundancy between Ball and Rozier a little bit. I mean, Ball is a better player than Rozier, but in terms of how they're effective offensively, I think they're a little bit redundant. So they'll probably need to move Rozier at some point. They're gonna have to get another guy because if PJ Washington's gonna be their number three option, I think they're in trouble. Although I guess Oubre might probably should be the number three option. We'll have to see. But yeah, I think it's gonna be another long season in Charlotte. Sorry to say that, Hornets fans, but that's just my opinion, not only off this one game, but off the past couple of years. I haven't bought into the hype of the Hornets in any way. And like I said, it's basically, it seems like it's the same team from the past 3 years. All you did was take Bridges out, and because of his off the court issues. So, so yeah, those are my thoughts on preseason game number one. I will try to do one of these videos after each preseason game. We'll just have to see kind of what I'm doing at the time, but you know, for any of you who caught the game, you can let me know what you think about the Celtics. Did you like what you saw in game one? What you think, I guess, of Missoula's coaching job in his first game? And what do you think about the rotation? Do you like Brogdon coming off the bench? Would you like to see him starting, especially with Robert Williams out for the first few weeks of the season? Are you okay with the starting lineup for this game where they had White in the starting lineup instead? Or just let me know whatever your thoughts are on the Celtics. And Hornets fans, You can let me know as well. Do you agree with what I of my assessment of the team or not? Definitely let me know that as well. But like I said, well, I mean, you know where to find me. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share. Chomping at the bit, whether you go to the Facebook page or on the YouTube channel, chomping at the bit. That's where you'll find me. And of course, gotta remind you, so Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, I am on Sports Empire Network, which you can find both on Facebook and YouTube. I do part of a live show on there Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays is 7 p.m. Thursday, like 7 p.m. as well. Um, and then Friday nights, you can catch me on JJL Sports Talk Show. But that's on, I think it might be on Facebook as well, but I know it's the YouTube channel, so you can just go over there. You'll catch me there live Friday nights around 8 to 8:15. And yeah, I think I got you covered everywhere I will be. And then, of course, when I'm not there, you'll catch me right here on Chomping at the Bit. So, with that, appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully, you enjoyed the episode. If you did, like I said before, do all the good stuff: like, subscribe, share, follow, leave a comment, do whatever you like. But as I always say, be safe out there. God bless, and I'll catch you next episode. All right, I'm out. Have a good one.